Hey, what's up, guys? You're now listening to Devo with Uncle Theo. Today is day 215, and we're going to cover Isaiah chapters 10 through 14. Now, remember our theme. The first half of this book is going to focus on judgment, chapters 1 through 39, and then chapters 40 through 66 is going to focus on salvation. And remember, that's what Isaiah's name means, Yahweh saves. And last time we left off, we saw prophecies concerning Jesus, and we got more light about Jesus. We understood that the Davidic king would continue and that it would never die, but we didn't know that the Davidic king would also be God and a God man. And Isaiah gives that to us. And so I want you to understand the groundbreaking nature of this and to put yourself in the shoes and thinking like one who wouldn't have the later books of the Bible and the New Testament. This will be the light that we will have at this time. And we pick up in chapter 10 and we get language around Assyria. Now, Syria is the big bad nation at the time, and God is going to use them as an instrument of judgment, but they're also going to have a future destruction. Let's look at this. It says, "Woe to Assyria, the rod of my anger, and the staff in whose hands is my indignation. I sent it against the godless nation." Who's that godless nation? That's Israel. They've gone after other gods, and they've rejected God. "And commissioned against it the people of my fury, to capture booty and to seize plunder." We even saw that in the prophecy from yesterday, that we saw that a son would come that would end exile. We also saw this son that prophesied about the exile in the current time named Meir Shalahashbash, which that name means swift is the booty and speedy is the prey. And so you see that carried out further here, where God tells you what Assyria is going to do. They're going to capture treasure and they're going to be a rod of destruction. But look at this, verse 12. "So it will be that when the Lord has completed all his work on Mount Zion and on Jerusalem, he will say, I will punish the fruit of the arrogant heart of the king of Assyria and the pomp of his haughtiness. For he said, by the power of my hand and by my wisdom I did this. For I have understanding, and I removed the boundaries of the people and plundered their treasures. And like a mighty man, I brought down their inhabitants, and my hand reached to the riches of the people of the nest. And as one gathers abandoned eggs, I gathered all the earth. And there was not one that flapped its wing or opened its beak." Listen to this. "Is the axe to boast itself over the one who chops with it? Is the saw to exalt itself over the one who wields it? That would be like a club wielding those who lift it, or like a rod lifting him who is not wood. Therefore the Lord, the God of hosts, will send a wasting disease among his stout warriors, and under his glory a fire will be kindled like a burning flame. And the light of Israel will become a fire, and his Holy One a flame." So think about that. God is raising up Assyria as an instrument of destruction on this godless nation, which is his people, by the way. And because they get prideful in him raising them up, God's going to turn around and judge the instrument that he raised up. This is mind blowing. Like, I can't wrap my mind around how genius God is. He can raise up a people to judge his people and then turn around and judge the people for being prideful in how they destroyed his people. And God is so good. He's worthy of worship. Like, you really can't comprehend his power and his might and his majesty. But this is a glimpse of it here. But listen to this. He says, "Now in that day, the remnant of Israel and those of the house of Jacob who have escaped will never rely on the one who struck them, but will truly rely on the Lord, the Holy One of Israel. A remnant will return, a remnant of Jacob, to the mighty God. For though your people, O Israel, may be like the sand of the sea, only a remnant within them will return." So think about that. We talked about this before. God always has a remnant that he preserves. But look how big Israel got. We saw that in Exodus. We saw that in Numbers. What do we estimate? About 3 to 6 million people? And they were growing like the sand of the sea. And God says only a small remnant will return. The rest will commit apostasy. But God always preserves this small remnant, and we see that here. It says, "Therefore thus says the Lord of hosts, O my people who dwell in Zion, do not fear the Assyrian who strikes you with the rod and lifts up his staff against you, the way Egypt did. For in a very little while my indignation against you will be spent, and my anger will be directed to their destruction." That's it right there. So we move into chapter 11, and listen to this. You got to grab this. "Then a shoot will spring from the stem of Jesse, human nature, and a branch from his roots will bear fruit. The Spirit of the Lord will rest on him," divine nature. This is what I was saying. We need someone to come from both heaven and earth. And this is the God man. And this is what we talked about before. He'll be both the fruit of heaven and earth. And because of this, we get to see a picture of the messianic age and the messianic reign of Christ. Says that the Spirit of the Lord will rest on him, the Spirit of wisdom and understanding, the Spirit of counsel and of might, the Spirit of the knowledge and the fear of the Lord, and he will delight in the fear of the Lord. He will not judge by what he sees with his eyes or what he decides to hear with his ears or decides by what he hears with his ears, but with righteousness he will judge. And it says, righteousness will be his belt and faithfulness the sash around his waist. The wolf will live with the lamb. The leopard will lie down with the goat. The calf and the young lion and the yearling together, and a little child will lead them. The cow will feed with the bear. Their young will lie down together, and the lion will eat straw like the ox. The infant will play near the cobra's den, and the young child will put his hand in the viper's nest. They will neither harm nor destroy on all my holy mountain, for the earth will be filled with the knowledge of the Lord as the waters cover the sea. So we get a picture of what it looks like in chapter 6 of his glory to fill the earth. This is an extended version of that. We get an extended picture of what it looks like for his glory to fill the earth. What does this teach us? That the Messiah changes everything. This is a beautiful picture of the kingdom. All creation is at peace. The lion and the lamb. The viper is playing with little infants. What have I told you the entire time? We were going back where? To Eden. We have returned to Eden because the Messiah has changed everything. We finally got Emmanuel, God with us, and he fixes it all. And this is why Thanksgiving is expressed in chapter 12. Then you will say on that day, I will give thanks to you, O Lord, for although you were angry with me, your anger is turned away. You will comfort me. Behold, God is my salvation. I will trust and not be afraid, for the Lord is my strength and my song. We gotta sing a song, a new song, when all things are made new. The knowledge of God will fill the earth. And that's the knowledge that Adam and Eve should have had, a knowledge that comes through Christ. They could have possessed the right way instead of taking Satan's advice and getting it the wrong way. So now we know the story. We know that this will happen through one man, the God man, the fruit of heaven and earth. This is the big picture. The goal now is in chapter 6. We get an extended picture in chapter 11. And we're going to close out today in chapters 13 and 14. And I want to say this because this will help us close out the first half of this book of judgment. So now that we've gotten our thesis and the directionality of this book in chapters 1 through 12, now that we're about to pick up in chapter 13, remember this now, chapters 13 through 27 is going to shift to the future. And chapters 28 through 39 is going to shift back to the present. And so what's happening here, the author, Isaiah, is lining up dominoes. He's going to say, look, these are the future dominoes in chapters 13 through 27. And when he lays those out, then he's going to say, okay, but these have to be in place now for those dominoes to fall in the future. So based on this knowledge, there's one coming thing. God is in control of it all, and God is sovereign and in control of everything. Now, with that in mind, we need to learn about these nations. First, we need to talk about Babylon because it is important because everyone is focusing on Assyria, and Isaiah is saying, all right, now, look, listen, you need to focus on Babylon. God says Babylon will fall at the end. And that's what chapter 13 is about. It's a prophecy about Babylon. Verse 1, the oracle concerning Babylon. So the leader here is associated with Babylon. Actually, Satan as well is associated with Babylon in chapter 14, which is why we get the fall of Satan in chapter 14. There's a shift that happens in verse 12. It says, how have you fallen from heaven, O star of the morning, son of the dawn? You have been cut down to you who have weakened the nations. But you said in your heart, I will ascend to heaven. I will raise my throne above the stars of God. I will sit on the mount of assembly in the recesses of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will make myself like the Most High. Nevertheless, you will be thrust down to Sheol, to the recesses of the pit. Those who see you will gaze at you. They will ponder over you, saying, is this the man who made the heavens, who made the earth tremble, who shook the kingdoms, who made the world like the wilderness and overthrew its cities, who did not allow his prisoners to go home? All the kings of the nations lie in glory. I will thrust him down to Sheol. God is saying everybody who tries to rise up and try and usurp leadership and tries to ascend to the position of God will meet death, just like Satan. And so we start to meet all of these nations. Then we hear about Assyria. Verse 24 says, the Lord of hosts has sworn, saying, surely just as I have intended, so it has happened. And just as I have planned, so it will stand, to break Assyria in my land, and I will trample him on my mountains. Then his yoke will be removed from them, and his burden removed from their shoulders. This is the plan devised against the whole earth, and this is the hand that is stretched out against all nations. For the Lord of hosts has planned, and who can frustrate it? And as for his outstretched hand, who can turn it back? There's your statement on the sovereignty of God. Then in verses 29 and following, we hear about Philistia will be conquered, and they will bring themselves down to Zion, because all nations say, let us go to the mountain of the Lord. And we'll pick up tomorrow in chapter 15, and we'll see more nations like Moab, Syria, and Damascus. They'll be destroyed. Ethiopia and Cush, Egypt, the big bad guys from the book of Exodus, they're going to come up again. And you may say, where is America? We got a spot for America. We'll talk about America too. But let's continue to see Isaiah line up these future dominoes, so when he shifts back to the present dominoes, it'll all make sense. God is in control of the nations. Thanks for riding with me through this book of prophecy.
Yeah.
You guys take care and have a good day.
Hey.